So I'm still playing in this area. I know that I mentioned that likely the next time you saw the painting it would be finished, but well, I thought I would just take you along with me for the finishing. I'm using ultramarine blue and a bit of yellow ochre right now. Going quite a bit darker. I painted this in using a bit of ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, burnt sienna, alizarin crimson, and yellow ochre, and it became a very flat area. And I realized that what I wanted was an interesting silhouette, but still, you know, a convoluted line setting this off from the distance. And I've cut down quite a bit to this trunk. I like this trunk. I'm going to keep this fairly dark. Again, silhouette. So what we've ended up with is, you know, this area, this mass that I was sniveling about earlier, is becoming lighter in weight, so in a way weaker that way, but it's actually becoming stronger because it's just becoming more interest. There's more drama. You know, I'd had this third of the painting, or what is it? Yeah, about a third, I guess. It was all kind of smudgy and indecisive looking, but now we're putting some strength in it, and I'm finally starting to like it. Plus, we're on the home stretch. And I like that too. I have a friend who's a painter, and you know, when you kind of find yourself wallowing in certain parts of a painting and a little bit indecisive, he calls that the miserable middle, and I can certainly sympathize. It seems like, you know, even though painting is fun, very rewarding, certainly on a larger painting, maybe not so much on a little panel, but certainly on a larger painting, it can feel as though your job's never going to be done. And of course he's exaggerating when he calls it the miserable middle, but I'm sure you can appreciate where that comes from. Every painting, no matter how successful you seem to be at executing it, like any job, like any task, there can certainly seem to be times that, yeah, you think, oh man, I'm sick of doing this, or, you know, I wish this area was over with, or I wish that problem was solved, and, you know, it gets there. It gets there. Okay, so at least we have a two-tiered bush now. As always, I have my little rescue brush here in case I get too sloppy. That's good. Now that's still a bit. I wonder if we cut down into here. Just take it down a notch. I'm using the same colors on the right hand side as I did, or sorry, on the left hand side as I did on the right hand side. In that on the right hand side I've painted some evergreens using similar colors, but the shape is entirely different, so I'm not worried too much about similarity in shape. That's not going to be an issue. Okay, am I playing a little bit too much? Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, I am. All right. Okay, we'll stop worrying about that. I think that's okay. Clean my palette off because we're going to go to a different set of colors now. And I think maybe what I'll do right now is visit another issue. Well, you know, I have to get to this and to this foreground. I don't think it needs a lot, but it does need a bit. But something that I just kind of left in limbo for the time being was how I was going to manage these trunks. They're a little bit out of tune with the painting, that's fine. I knew I wanted something there. I initially thought what I'm going to do is darken the underside of a canopy over the top of this trunk, you know, to help it sit in place. David Mercer, one of my subscribers, you had mentioned that you thought, well, you said all the trunks seem to be floating. I don't agree with that, but I do agree that, you know, these two are kind of lost in space. This one I may disregard completely. I may paint over it, or I may actually lighten the value on it and then make it so much less important as to blend in with the foliage around it. That's another solution. But this trunk, you know, looking across the entire top of the painting and the width of the painting, I think I may just carry it right off the top of the canvas, because I have enough other trunks that do the same thing on it. Might get away with that. Anyway, we'll play with that idea and see. I think first I'm just going to grab a little bit of maybe raw umber and cobalt blue and draw it in with a knife, or draw it in with a brush, and then decide where to go from there. So you can see that I decided to carry this one off the top of the canvas, but I've kept the value low on the tree, not bringing any reflection of light to the top. So it's kind of adjacent to other low value. So we have low chroma, low value next to each other, because I didn't want to draw too much attention to this, you know, this trunk going off the edge of the canvas, towards the edge of the canvas, you know, both the left side and the top. But it still seems to be in tune with a few of the other trunks I have here. This trunk I've decided to just paint right out of the painting. I don't think there's a need for it. Sometimes I like to have something right on the edge, but in this case, I don't think it's necessary. Yeah, that's awfully gray looking. Let me see if I can spice it up with a little bit of color here. Put a little yellow ochre on there, just a bit. Maybe add a hint of white to that, yellow ochre. Oh, excuse me, I've had a pork belly in the oven, and I just had a bite of it, and it's just delicious. But of course that comes with the requisite burps sometime. Trying to max this up a little bit, but not quite as high a value.
Um, 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 um. Okay, I should probably stop playing. Whoops, where'd that weight come from? Whoa. Okay, knock it off. Alright, that's good. That is good enough. Well, I like this rock much more now. I like the addition of this. So that rock's done, this rock is done, or a section of bedrock rather. This is okay, but okay isn't really okay. I think we need to do a little better than that. So I'm just gonna be a little more accurate here with where the shadow is sitting. And where the light is sitting. Doesn't need much, but I am going over fairly dry paint now. Let me just stand up and have a look at that. We might be okay. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, that'll be alright. You know, what, 3 inches from the edge of the canvas? I don't want to kill it with kindness. I want to keep those strokes fairly broad. So I'm on the last, now I'm really closing in on finishing here, but I'm tackling one object at a time and bringing it to my satisfaction before I move on. So our rocks are in place. I'm going to put a little more light on this sort of grassy-ish area here. Yeah, I think it would help to warm it up a little bit, have a little bit of light, and then going into shadow as we come to the right. So let's see here, what will I use? Oh, yellow ochre. And
alizarin crimson, some ultramarine blue, a bit of white. It's purple-ish, so we'll stay with, well, maybe I'll warm it up a little bit. Purple-ish might just be too purple. How's that? Yeah, that's pretty good, I think. I don't want this sparkling. I just wanted to take it up a notch, that's all. I can put some in behind there, that's okay too. Blur that line a little bit. Where to? Till about here somewhere? Yeah. Allowing a little bit of shadow at the base of the rock and off to the right a tad. I think that's okay. Okay, let's cut up against. Cut up against there a little bit. No big dramatic changes, just a little lighter. Stand up and have a peek. I think that works. All right, now I want to improve these. So I'm looking at it and thinking, I don't believe there's anything else I want to do to this painting. I think it's a done deal. I'm very happy with it. I like the fact that you can sort of visually wander around amongst the bushes and down this swale here, and you know, some interest is picked up here. Well, the focal area, obviously. You know, and it's a sort of a panorama, so there needs to be interest on either end. But we need to keep focused. We always need to remember, you know, where's our focal area? To me, this painting has sort of a bit of a flow to it. I know that there are a lot of vertical lines interrupting the flow, but it still has this kind of, you know, coming down and then running out here. I like that. And then we come to the highest values, and chroma for that matter, and it kind of explodes from there and shoots off in this direction in a dappled fashion. So yeah, I feel it has that. I like that. I'll just run through some of the small things that I did in this last little while. I had planned to, well, I kind of thought it was likely that I was going to indicate a few branches sticking out of this foliage in the background here and there. You know, of a much higher value than these, obviously, sort of a medium to light gray. And I thought, you know, I end up with all kinds of detail doing that, and that would distract, that would undercut the strength of the painting as a whole. So I didn't do it. Fine. I think this is plenty interesting as it is already. Kind of funny how it's a backdrop, but the backdrop and its adjacency to the most vivid tree or between the two most vivid trees, I suppose, serves as a focal area. Okay, so we left that. I had this branch coming right off the canvas. It was drawing too much attention. Small thing, but I got rid of it. I like it better. You know, this rock changed its shape dramatically. I really like this rock better. Added a little bit of light from the left. Painted this one in. I had this line coming down to about here. Two parallel dark lines of similar length. So I shortened that and made it into a dot and a bit of a line, right? I think these stumps are looking better than they were. I had this was sort of a vague, weak mass right here, so I introduced a couple of lines and played a little more on it, and that was successful. This little tree, all I did was extend this branch a little bit and add a little short one coming off to the left. I originally was going to actually make a more interesting shape, and I thought, no, again, too much detail. Don't need it. Was going to take some of a dark line here and sort of join this side with that side. But you know, why compete with this area by adding more dark lines behind it? Plus, it stops your eye. If you're coming into the painting from the right and moving up to look at this, you have this dark line, and psychologically, subliminally almost, it will stop your eye, and this just helps the flow a little bit. I think that works. I changed the bottom of this branch. It was a little too flat. Wasn't too fond of it. I was tempted to do something in this corner, but no, you know, I like it. A little bit disorganized, a little bit interesting. This is probably the most impressionistic part of the painting, but it still supports what's going on. Let's see, even a trunk like this, it was very much like a pole, and I was tempted to maybe put a branch or two coming off of it. All I did was put a little short branch disappearing under this foliage, and I sharpened this knot and put a tiny stub of a branch that was there at one point, just to break up that sort of equal thickness trunk that was going up. Let's see. Yeah, no, there are other things that I've done that I explained to you already. Fix this rock a little bit, looks better. Let's see. I think that's probably about it. I put a hint more light under here. Oh, I took a brush and I had some very dark sections showing through from these two little trunks in the distance, and I just took a little bit of raw umber and ultramarine blue and a hint of white, just to take that real strong darkness away, because they are a little further away than these, you know. They just stood out as being a little too strong. I want them strong enough because they provide a lot of interest, but they were just a little too over the top. Small niggling things. Really happy with cutting down here. I like that this is mostly in the shade. You know, now you visually pair them up, and there's a lot of strength here and interest in this area. You know, it's kind of funny, something like this. I've spent the last pretty much, what would it be? 4 hours only doing an hour of painting. But I've spent a lot of time, a lot of that, especially when I'm at the step 6, as I like to call it, the finishing of the painting. I make a lot of very careful decisions, and I spend a lot of time just looking at it, taking visual breaks. I'll go on YouTube and look at some video, well, a number of different videos, just to look away for 20 minutes or what have you, and then come back to it. I guess that's about it. I'll take you guys off the tripod and give you some close-ups. I believe I've pretty much covered the colors I was using as I went into this painting, or as I was videoing this painting. So maybe what I'll do is just zoom in certain areas to show you a bit of the knife work. That might be somewhat of an aid. I know, once again, trying to show that up close it looks messy, it's deceiving. Thus the importance of backing up, you know. Survey your successes and failures, but as an impressionist, you need to back up to see that. Those are pretty smooth. They look very black, the lines look very black, but that's because it's fresh wet paint. So yeah, there's just kind of a not overly mixed mishmash of color in there. It's quite a mess. It's a controlled mess though. See, those strokes are pretty loose, but they're still giving shape to the trunk. And we've, you know, up in the right-hand corner there, edge of the painting, we still have colors, but they're blended. They're more blended. And they're toned down. Lower value, lower chroma. Yeah, it's so important to back up. It happens so often that I'll be painting an area and I'll just tighten up and tighten up and tighten up because I forget to get off my butt and back up and have a look from a distance. And when I do remember to do that, I often think to myself, no, that's actually just fine. Okay, there it is. See you soon.